not just listening as a background,
the kind of chemicals that start to move through your body,
like a meditation,
are much more tonic-oriented than toxic-oriented.
Frequency plus intent equals healing.
And you drop down into what we call a very deep state of meditation.
This kind of health-promoting strategy, much like meditation, this is an active form of meditation.
Music has really been an essential part of how I get through my day.
Transformational inner experiences.
Re-enchanting of the world in the real sense.
Sound actually shows up as one of the universal pathways.
That the music and sound do have the power to heal.
I'm Dr. Joan Borysenko, and I'm a medical scientist and a psychologist. And in addition to that, I'm the author of about 13 or 14 books, and I'm the director of the Claritas Institute for Interspiritual Inquiry. My interest is spirituality, health, healing, and the world's great wisdom traditions. What really supports healing is coming into the present moment, letting go of the past and letting go of the future other than the planning that we have to do for it, which means showing up here and now. When that happens and you turn off the discourse and the stuff that's always going on in the mind, then the body elicits what Dr. Herbert Benson, who for many years was a person that I did research with, it elicits what Benson calls the relaxation response. And the body naturally goes into a state that's antagonistic to stress, and that the cardiovascular system is in balance, the blood pressure goes down, the heart rate goes down, the immune system recovers, you sleep better. So if you think about what turns the mind off, I would say that other than focused sorts of meditation, what tends to work best for people are two things. One is nature, because nature meditates you. It takes you out of yourself, turns off what's going on in the mind. But the other thing that works really well for most people is music, that you absorb yourself in the music, not just listening as a background, but listening like a meditation. And what happens for people is exquisite emotions get triggered. They become present in their body and everything shifts. So it's a wonderful way to relax, which is much more than just relaxation. It's a whole healing kind of cascade that goes on. Most of the research on the relaxation response has involved meditation, either concentration meditation or mindfulness meditation. And what we know, for example, from recent research at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, this is research of Richard Davidson on long-term meditators, is that it actually changes the happiness set point, and it activates a place in the left frontal lobe of the brain. So meditation actually changes what we call neuronal plasticity, the way that the brain is actually wired. And I think that music, although I don't know if anyone's done any research on this, but I think that music does something that's very specific. I hope that Davidson and some of these other labs will do research on music, because they study people who have thousands and thousands of hours of meditation under their belts, Tibetan Buddhists, nuns. But anyone can listen to music. That's what's so wonderful about it. You don't have to be a master of the practice. You just have to be willing. If you think about sacred music, in every tradition there is some kind of sacred music, some kind of chanting. And that's a gateway that brings people into an altered state. And that's where I think meditation and music overlap, because that altered state that happens when your mind is not busy thinking things up, but you're present, or you're in a reverie. These are different states, but both altered states. Something very special happens. So, for example, if you are Catholic and you hear chanting in Latin, that is a doorway. If you, for example, go to a Benedictine monastery and you hear the monks or nuns sing the divine offices, it's not just the language, but it's the cadence, it's the chant, definitely a doorway to the sacred. This world parts, the discursive thinking goes away, and you're in a totally different place. It's the same with chanting in Sanskrit or chanting in Hebrew or Aramaic. There's some kind of special vibration, I think, to these ancient languages. So there's something about not only sound, but the type of sound, the language itself, that seems to stop the discursive thought and get you out of your head, get you into this moment, and open up a doorway into a spiritual reality where people feel peaceful, they feel connected to some larger source. They feel a sense of awe, a sense of gratitude. That's how we all like to feel, because it makes us feel so fully alive and so connected somehow to something mysterious and something wonderful. Chanting in English doesn't do it so much, but chanting in Hebrew, in Aramaic, in Sanskrit, in Latin, in Pali, in any of the sacred languages really does seem to open that doorway. You know, as a Jew, I chant to myself first thing when I get up in the morning, either out loud or usually actually silently, the same prayer that Jesus would have chanted. I sometimes say to my audiences, who are largely Christian, because it's a Christian country, what do you think Jesus did when he got up in the morning? And of course, people don't generally know, but what he did was to face east and face the rising sun, and simply to chant in Hebrew, Modani lifonecha melechai v'chayom shechechazarta bi nishmoti b'chemla rabba imunotecha. Amen. Now that's been chanted for 6,000 years. And here's where I have to depart from being a scientist and simply rely on what groups of people will tell me. And that is, somehow that vibrates inside of people, that ancient language, in a way that is awakening. When that's chanted, a room of 1,000 people will get absolutely silent. Some kind of doorway is opened. And so in my own mind, the way I think about that is that has a vibration which is connected first to the intention. And the intention of that chant is a thank you. It translates, thank you for returning my soul to my body again today for another day of life. So there's this tremendous intention of gratitude. And then you think about how many untold millions of people have chanted those words for 6,000 years. And then I think of the British biologist Rupert Sheldrake and his morphogenetic field, and that there must indeed be a field created by that particular chant that people can hook into. But there's obviously something there. There's people who hear it for the first time drop into this space that I can only call a spiritual space of connection with something larger. And that is a tremendous power of sound and of melody. If you look at most ancient texts from various traditions, they have musical notations next to them. So the Torah, for example, the Torah is not meant to be read. It's meant to be chanted. And there's something in the melody itself in combination with the sound of the words that would be what we might think of as a mantra. There's something there beyond the words, the meaning of the words itself. There's something vibratory. And I think it's quite extraordinary. As a scientist, as I said, I can't really explain it other than saying it stops thought, may bring you into the relaxation response physiologically. But as a human being, I know that it's there because I can observe it. I think everybody has had moments when they felt like you're in the zone. You just can do no wrong, whatever you're doing, whether it is talking to a child or making love or doing a report on your computer. It just flows out of you like water running down a hill. And what puts us in a zone like that is, of course, pretty fascinating to look at. But one of the things that puts people in the zone is music. When people say, particularly instrumental music, so that they're not thinking about it, not thinking about the words, but the music simply creates I call music a universal solvent. And it dissolves all kinds of things. It dissolves differences among people, and it dissolves the thoughts within our own mind so that a deeper wisdom that emerges in the moment can really come through. I wrote a book called Inner Peace for Busy People, all kinds of ways to calm down in this stressful world, and also to really center in your own inner authority so that the things outside of you don't pull you out of your own sense of your peaceful core. And as I was writing that book, Don Campbell, who is a very good friend of mine, said, one of the things that really centers people is music. Let's do a CD of Inner Peace for Busy People. And he said, we'll each choose some of the pieces of music that really center us, that really bring us home to ourselves, that really put us in the zone. And my favorite piece of music actually is called The Lark Ascending. It's a tone poem by Ralph Vaughan Williams. And it has such an essence to it of freedom, of something deep inside rising up and touching the sky. And that's what inspiration is. And that's one of the amazing things about music, is that it creates mood, it creates memory. Therefore, it's affecting the limbic system of our brain, where mood and memory are really located. And so I think sometimes a depressed person who listens to an inspiring piece of music, we're looking for a way to change the limbic system of depressed people. It's a great way to do it. We are a stressed and a noisy world. You can hardly hear yourself thinking. People are overwhelmed with email, with information. There's not a moment to let go and be still and come back to it, that natural sense of harmony that we have when we're not being pulled in 1,000 different directions. What stress is really is being pulled in different directions. You think about the stress of a rubber band and the fact that it wants to snap back. And what we know about stress is that 70 to 90% of visits to family practice physicians are due to stress. And also, if you have an illness, no matter what it is, it's made worse by stress. So the removal of stress is very important. And not only does it cause physical discomfort, but mental discomfort. Nobody likes the feeling of stress. Makes you anxious, depressed, hostile. That in turn affects your immune system. It affects your heart. And I would say that one of the best ways to relieve stress is through music. In fact, there was a study that looked at that worldwide. What is the relaxation tool, the stress reduction tool that most people use? Regardless of culture, music was the #1 stress reduction tool. When you think about stress, it's a sense of disharmony. It's really like you can't find your own song. You can't find the chord that you are. You can't find the way that you fit into the landscape. In stress, these are all metaphors, but you can't feel anymore the connection between earth and sky and how it all flows through you. And what music really does is to restore the sense of harmony. And I love the work of Therese Schroeder-Schieker, and she uses prescriptive music. She's done a number of studies with people who are hospitalized, people who are in pain, finding that particular kinds of music with, for example, plain chant, will help a dying person to release themselves from the body, whereas music that has rhythm tends to keep people in their body. And yet other kinds of music will help to relieve pain. And she has very good data on those things. And I think this is a field that's going to develop prescriptive music. What is the harmony that we are? And if we listen to music, can it help us tune again into our own harmony and help to create that field that we're naturally part of?
And really, a lot of our current work has to do with interspirituality, which has to do with dialogue about ultimate reality, the experience of ultimate reality across traditions. So it's a deepening to a place where people reach a common ground or a common heart. One place where this has begun to manifest has been in the rebirth, the reconvening of the Parliament of the World's Religions. The mission of the Parliament of the World's Religions is stated as harmony, not unity, convergence, not consensus. There's something very spiritual about the way differences are not only transcended, but included in a harmony. Now, there have been studies in the field of leadership. Dan Goleman and his associates wrote a book based on their research called Primal Leadership. And what they discovered is that there are really two opposite ways that leaders can affect people. And the terms they used are resonance and dissonance. Those are terms that are really drawn from the world of sound and of vibration. So resonant leadership is something that draws people into a common field of vision, a common field of collaboration, a common field of creativity. It's the resonance that draws them together. Dissonance, on the other hand, awakens in people defenses. So in a sense, you could say that the difference between dissonance and resonance is the expansion of our being versus the contraction, often in the involuntary contraction of our being in the face of dissonance.
One of the things that brings up for me about music is that you feel expansive when you're listening to music. You let go of your defenses, you let go of your muscle tension, you let go of your stress, and that leaves you open to harmonize with whatever is around you, to harmonize with another person, which is why music is so lovely for lovemaking, or to harmonize like in the Parliament of World Religions. There was a beautiful night outside of the great cathedral that's still being built, the masterpiece of Antoni Gaudí, La Sagrada Familia. And there was music from almost every world religious tradition. It was absolutely extraordinary.
The world is shrinking. Marshall McLuhan said long ago that because of the electronics, that we are becoming a global village, that time and space are shrinking, and we're being drawn together. What's being drawn together are cultures, religions, traditions that have been geographically dispersed apart from one another, ethnically apart from one another, religiously apart from one another, based on certain geographic locations and ethnic identities. As the world shrinks, people who are the bearers of these identities are suddenly being pushed up against each other like tectonic plates. And what this is creating immediately is conflict. We can see this sectarian conflict happening all over the world today. And that is one effect of bringing together the convergence of these differing cultures. But another phenomenon is happening that is at least as interesting and certainly more promising. And that is the fusion where musical traditions are coming together. It suggests that if we can if we can transcend our language barriers and our dogmatic barriers, and move to the area of music, that is a place where the fusion of traditions is really, really beautiful to behold. One thing that Joan and I have been doing, and with our school that we started for some time now, is we begin always with the Sufi invocation. And the Sufi invocation goes like this: toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. So right there, in that invocation, is the understanding that there is something in the universe, in true nature, in being, that is a harmonizing force, and that there is something in us that is a receptor to that harmony, that is attracted to it, and that itself is that spirit of guidance. So this is within us. And what does healing, of course, mean? I mean, the Anglo-Saxon word health, spelled the same as we spell it today, simply means wholeness, to the point where holistic health becomes kind of redundant. Wisdom itself can really be thought of as that impulse toward wholeness.
So yes, you know, there's a concept in Hebrew called tikkun olam, and that means the healing of the earth and the healing of the planet. And the idea there is, when you think about what is the purpose of a human being, it's to make wholeness. It's to be a conduit for wholeness, for healing at every level, which means healing within ourselves, healing between each other, healing between cultures, healing of our planet. And the diversity is so endless. So the healing doesn't mean to make the same. The healing is this great harmony. And music is not only a wonderful metaphor for that, but it's wonderful how you explore each level of it. Music can help that healing, healing of the body, reduction of stress, healing of the workplace. I think of Don Campbell's work, and that he has music in different areas of the hospital, which are specific to what the patients and the staff would be feeling. So music in the delivery room is real different than the music in the emergency room. Healing environments. And you think about healing sounds, people who are listening to the sounds of the ocean, or for example, the sounds of a peaceful pond, music that you have done. It makes a very big difference. The natural sounds of the environment are a kind of planetary music that unfortunately we are destroying. But you know, the planet will out. In the end, it will outlive the rest of us. But this healing among nations, the spiritual healing that underlies religious difference, music plays a part in every level of this interconnected healing.
Sound is one of the most effective vehicles for not only helping people to slow down and become more centered, but also to connect to something deeper within themselves. Most of the time, that something deeper is the spiritual self, or you might call it the true self. For others, though, it's actually connecting to something that even transcends the self. So we're talking about a connection to something that they can only describe as the sacred. And frankly, the sound is at the very heart of facilitating that change and connection. All right. Hi, I'm Jonathan Ellerby. I'm the Spiritual Program Director for Canyon Ranch, and I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the services that we have here that is extremely popular. It's not only popular with the guests, but it's also one of my favorite services to do. It's called Shamanic Journey. Now, Shamanic Journey, or Shamanic Journey work, is based on principles we find in healing traditions around the world and throughout time. And at its heart is sound technology. What we use is crystal bowls. So for example, we use the tones from these beautiful crystal bowls, and we use the drum. And we also use this state-of-the-art neuroacoustic sound bed. So what we're really doing is we're incorporating different sound tools throughout time, from ancient sound elements like the drum to the most modern things. And all of these are really put together in a way that helps people to not only relax, but also to open their minds and access their intuition. So let me tell you a little more about this bed. This is a bed that was developed for Canyon Ranch by the Center for Neuroacoustic Research and Dr. Jeffrey Thompson. This is a model that essentially mirrors a similar model that's being used at the Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale. So clearly, we're using this because it works, and we're using this because it's been tested over time. What makes this sound bed unique is it's got two padded chambers. So the patient or the client or the guest, the person experiencing it, lays on the bed, head up here, feet down here, and the chambers are actually separated right and left. So what you have inside, beneath these cushions, is actually a divide, and it's sound insulated so that the right sounds do not bleed into the left sounds do not bleed into the right. And what that allows us to use is special sound healing technology. For example, what you find in the work of the Evansons and Soundings of the Planet, as well as the hemisync technology that try to capitalize on the use of right and left signals, triggering specific brain states and even synchronizing hemispheres of the brain. So, by laying on this, what is happening is the person is not only experiencing the stereo right and left in the speakers, but we have transducers, speakers actually in the bed itself, and these are giving the person a kinesthetic or sensory experience of the sound itself. They're literally hearing the sound through their body. And one thing that's been fascinating for me to learn about is the fact that the body actually is a fantastic conduit of sound, that bones are even incredible conduits of sound. So what we find then is when they lay on this bed, they have a unique encounter not only of the stereo technology, but also of literally the vibration and the frequency of the bed itself. The results are extraordinary. And frankly, we work with people who have an interest in simply exploring their spiritual life. We work with people who are looking to slow down. We work with people who are looking for a deeper insight. And we also work with people who are dealing with physical challenge or emotional challenge. There's really nothing that the human spirit or consciousness cannot address when facilitated or when supported. And I really do believe that sound is at the heart of what helps us to create that loving and safe space. So part of what's exciting about my work is that I get to use healing tools and technologies that really exist at the bridge between the ancient and the modern. So two of the other tools that we use are crystal bowls and the drum. Now the drum, we know anthropologically, is perhaps the oldest sound healing tool that we have, perhaps with the exception of the human voice. And what we find is that different rhythms facilitate not only different moods, but even different brain states. There was some great research done by Dr. Barry Bittman, and he looked at different rhythms. And which ones had the most powerful effect or the most immediate effect on inducing certain states of consciousness or the relaxation response. And what they found were that the very rhythms that are central to indigenous traditions and have been for thousands of years are some of the most healing rhythms that we can use today. But more than just the drum, we also have the crystal bowls. The bowls we use are originally inspired by the Tibetan meditation bowls, which are actually made of poured metals. Now, in a traditional Tibetan bowl, usually there are a variety of metals blended in the process, and so they emit a range of tones when they're played. These bowls, however, are designed to create pure notes or pure tones. So we have an F and we have a C. And what we find through this modern innovation is that we are able to build upon and access the ancient teachings about sound frequencies and certain notes and tones and their ability to influence change and healing in the body. So these are literally tuned to different chakra centers, different energy centers. As an example, the F is associated in some traditions with the frequency of the heart. The root here is associated with the key or the note C. And then this one we have for the throat. Now we choose these three tones and the corresponding chakras based on our intention to create a healing response in people. And you can imagine the root here is about helping people work through fear and security issues. The heart is about opening to a sense of compassion for the self and the world. And for most of us, the ability to communicate our needs and express ourselves and our soul's purpose and mission is one of the biggest stumbling blocks to our health. So we have all these tools that we can use throughout the process, and we almost create a kind of orchestra of these sound healing tools based on our intuition. So in a sense, there is this kind of symphony that unfolds between the recorded music, the volumes that we're playing, the selections that we're choosing, the tones of the bowls, when we're playing them, how loud and how long, and then the rhythms of the drum. As you can imagine, the person in the midst of the experience is swept up in something that really takes them out of their mind and into their heart and their spirit. So when it comes to selecting our music, generally we're not using music you'd hear on the radio. Generally, we're not playing music that people would immediately recognize. Now, they might recognize the artists, and we are proud to say that we use people like Dean and Dudley Evanson, and we use people like Chuck Wilde and Liquid Mind. I mean, there are certain familiar names in the field that we will use. However, what's unique about those pieces typically is that while the artist and the style may be familiar, we're usually picking pieces where the melody may not be familiar, or in fact there may be no central melody. It may be just a progression of tones, it may be a simple rhythm with a wandering kind of instrumentation on top of it. And so we are choosing our music very specifically. In some cases, it's true, we do pick things that have a certain repetitive quality, but that would usually be in rhythm and not in melody. What we don't want is to play the kind of music where people are humming along or thinking about a tune, although we do want to play music that's going to evoke a mood or create a certain kind of physical or even emotional response. It's a joy for me to work with sound, not only as a healer, but in my own personal life, because no matter where I've traveled to learn about different spiritual traditions, sound, song, drumming, choirs, toning, chanting, it's everywhere I go. And as I pursued my academic study of comparative religion, even working towards my Ph.D., regardless of who or what I was studying, sound and music were never far behind. And even when I did research for my book, Return to the Sacred, which is really looking at the core spiritual practices that show up in cultures around the world and throughout time, sound actually shows up as one of the universal pathways to connecting with the self and the spirit. So I can't say enough about sound. It's a part of every moment of my life, and ever since I started to look at sound more spiritually, I find it a ever-present gateway to connect with the spirit. I pay attention to the sounds of birds. I pay attention to the rhythm of trains. I've come to see that sound is not just a backdrop for life, but sound in some ways is the very thread that weaves life together. I'm honored to be able to talk about the role of sound in healing and spirituality because it's been central to my life and I see what a difference it makes in other people's lives every single day.
En mi camino he tenido varios maestros que me han ayudado mucho, pero hay que saber ser alumno. Y comúnmente no se sabe ser alumno. Entonces, ellos me enseñaron primero a ser alumno. Entonces, esa fue mi primera lección y duró muchos años. Solamente saber ser alumnos. Lamentablemente he tenido muchos estudiantes y creo que he fallado porque no les he podido enseñar a ser alumnos. Pero es algo que yo aprendí mucho, ser alumno. Entonces, cuando tú sientes que eres alumno, todo es más fácil. Y a mí me enseñaron solamente sintiendo, estando cerca del maestro, acompañándolo, no haciéndole permanentemente preguntas, sino esperando que él suelte algo mágico y quedándote con eso. Eso puede durar 1 mes, 2 meses, 2 horas. ¿No? En el aprendizaje no existe el tiempo y lamentablemente eso no lo entendemos fácilmente. Entonces, creemos que todo funciona para algo y que todo es exacto y nada es exacto. Todo está en movimiento. Entonces, yo aprendí primero a ser alumno y sigo siendo alumno. No soy un maestro, soy un alumno que aprende a cada momento. En esta entrevista estoy aprendiendo de ti, de tu mirada, de tus sentimientos, y en cada momento trato de aprender. Creo que lo que mejor aprendí de mis maestros es a ser alumno. Y bueno, muchos fueron el maestro Solón, el maestro José Campos, el maestro Alfredo Curasi, la maestra Amelia. Me enseñaron mucho y bueno, después te enseña la vida, ¿no? Te va enseñando la vida, el momento. Te vas nutriendo de cada ceremonia, te vas alimentando de cada concierto, de cada relación con las personas. Y en eso estoy, ¿no? Aprendiendo. En el antiguo Perú milenario, los instrumentos musicales eran considerados como algo vivo. Todos tienen espíritu, una antara de plumas tiene espíritu, el pututo, la vasija silbadora tienen espíritu. Entonces, los antiguos peruanos se relacionaban muy espiritualmente con cada uno de los instrumentos, tanto que los instrumentos eran ofrendas y acompañaban al músico hasta su morada final. Y eran depositadas cuando ellos pasaban a otra vida como ofrendas en el pecho del músico. Entonces, esa relación con los instrumentos musicales hay que recuperarla, hay que volverla a vivir. Y mi relación con cada uno de los instrumentos es de mucha compenetración, ¿no? Establezco una relación muy profunda con cada uno de ellos para descubrir y para que su espíritu me hable. Entonces, cuando tú te comunicas con el espíritu del instrumento, las melodías vienen, ¿no? Son como espíritus sonoros de la música, los instrumentos musicales. Y bueno, cada uno de ellos tiene algunas funciones, ¿no? El pututo invoca, ¿no? Llama. La flauta, la quena de hueso de cóndor, también es muy importante para llamar a los espíritus. La antara de plumas es un instrumento que se usa en las ceremonias de purificación, de limpieza. Y la vasija silbadora es un instrumento para ingresar, para meterte dentro, muy profundo. Y es un instrumento donde está el agua. Donde está la tierra. Donde está el viento y donde está el fuego. Y el quinto elemento, que es el sonido. Es un instrumento que reúne los 5 elementos y es un instrumento muy especial para conseguir estados de conciencia superiores. Ese es un poco el espíritu de cada instrumento y lo que te podría contar de cada uno de los instrumentos con los cuales trabajo, ¿no? La forma en que yo trabajo es llevar a las personas a un estado de conciencia superior. Y yo lo hago a través del sonido. Entonces la persona a través del sonido va consiguiendo un estado de conciencia muy especial, muy elevado. Y cuando tú estás en un estado de conciencia superior, cualquier transformación es posible, cualquier cambio es posible. Entonces esa es un poco mi forma de abordar las ceremonias de curación y sonido, ¿no? De tratar de subir la vibración, de elevar la vibración de cada persona. Y para eso, claro, utilizo los instrumentos musicales de mi tradición, del Perú milenario. Y bueno, nosotros somos vibración pura, la música es vibración pura y el sonido es un elemento eminentemente sanador y curativo, ¿no? Dios hizo la tierra cantando, ¿no? Por eso todo tiene ritmo y armonía. Entonces, si todo tiene ritmo y armonía, utilizar el sonido para elevar tu ritmo, tu vibración y para armonizarte es perfectamente posible y creo que es mucha medicina, muy curativo. No solamente para las personas, sino para la naturaleza, ¿no? Los antiguos peruanos dividieron el mundo en varias naturalezas. La naturaleza de los dioses, la naturaleza de los humanos, de los runas, de los hombres, y la naturaleza misma. Entonces, estas tres comunidades, la comunidad de los dioses, de los hombres y de la naturaleza, se vivían en forma interrelacionada, ¿no? Y bueno, eso es importante recordarlo, que somos parte de una gran comunidad. No estamos separados, sino somos parte de un tejido, como este tejido. Todo está interrelacionado. Conforme es arriba, también es abajo. Somos lo mismo. Y esa es una ley andina muy fuerte, ¿no? Tú y yo somos lo mismo. Si sentimos así y si pensamos así, se evitaría mucha violencia, muchas guerras y muchas imposiciones, ¿no? Culturales, económicas, políticas. En eso creo, ¿no? Y en eso trabajo. Mi música está al servicio de ese ideal. Un ideal de paz y de integración, pero respetando las individualidades y las culturas y los pueblos, no imponiendo modelos. Y en eso estoy. Muchas gracias. Dos cosas influyeron mucho en tomar el camino de la música y la curación. Mi relación con la planta maestra de la ayahuasca y mi relación con el universo acústico del antiguo Perú, milenario. Mi relación con la planta de la ayahuasca fue muy importante porque fue muy curativa. Logré curar muchas situaciones personales y el ayahuasca abre puertas, ¿no? Te abre muchas puertas y cuando te abren puertas y te invitan a entrar es como una esperanza, como algo que te va curando, ¿no? Te va invitando a entrar a nuevas situaciones. Es una planta eminentemente curativa, purificadora, que trabaja en tu cuerpo físico, pero también en tu espíritu. Y es una planta muy curativa, diría yo, para el cuerpo y para el espíritu. Entonces, mi música cambió y al inicio me quedé como vacío, ¿no? Y la planta me dijo que tenía que olvidar todo lo anterior y quedarme en blanco. Y algunas semanas, algún tiempo estuve en blanco y poco a poco fui llenando otra vez mi vida de puertas que se abren, de mandatos, de señales, de nuevos sonidos. Y comencé otra vez a alimentar mi espíritu de nuevas melodías y comencé el camino de relacionar música, ceremonia y curación. Esa ha sido mi relación con la planta maestra de la ayahuasca.